Right, we're having a hard time with technology this morning, but let's have a go. Mercury is in the microwave. It has been like absolute hell trying to get us all here. Fingers crossed this records. Fingers crossed it works. Let's see. I am joined today by some of the core team members that are busting a gut behind the scenes to make ADHD AF Plus charity work. There's a lot of work goes into this alongside all of our fantastic volunteer facilitators who run the groups, and we've got some new ones coming up very soon. The core team behind the scenes alongside the chair is, of course, our Kim Pierpoint, who is the treasurer.
Woohoo, hello.
We've got Kate, who is the group coordinator.
Morning.
And we have Ruth, who is tech support.
Woo.
Kate and Ruth are both facilitators. Kate is the facilitator of the Bristol group and Ruth is the facilitator of the London monthly peer support group. So if anybody hasn't listened to this podcast before, it began as just a chat about late discovered ADHD. So many people came along for the ride and got so much from it, and a community was born behind the scenes online and some live events. And all of that led to creating a charity, which is called ADHD AF Plus, and we have peer support groups to connect and empower ADHD adults of marginalised genders in Scotland, England, and very soon to be Wales in the new year. So alongside all sorts of different episodes of ADHD AF, I do a monthly one which introduces the topic of the coming month's peer support group, because all of the groups have the same outline of what we're going to talk about that month and some takeaways for that month. So as we know, we are at the end of November. Christmas is most definitely coming. So December's group topic is called ADHD Xmas SOS. And that is because Christmas can be incredibly challenging. There's a lot of pressure on our time, on our finances, our personal relationships, calendars, mental health, etc. And especially so if you have ADHD. So as somebody who really likes to party, really likes to celebrate life and likes to get together with people in real life, I absolutely love Christmas, usually. And I've joked in the past that I am Christmas because I'm just ready for it. I'm going to throw a do. I'm going to eat all the food. I'm going to put on all the tunes. And the Christmas tree lights are always set to rave mode in my house. But as I started along with the community, I realised the different challenges that so many of us face because of our ADHD. And actually before that, as ever, I didn't really know I had it until I came into this space. So I just thought that the things that I struggled with were my personal failings as per usual, as opposed to actually seeing it through the lens of how ADHD can bring different challenges to literally any moment of our lives. When I realized that so many of us struggle with so many of the same things or in different guises around Christmas, I created a Christmas tour, which was, I believe, 2023. I toured around some shows in Scotland and England, doing a show that I ridiculously named an ADHD Christmas Laura with Carol crossed out, because it had a ridiculous adaptation of Christmas Carol at the end of it. But I went around to bring people together at Christmas to create perhaps the only Christmas party that they could definitely unmask at and make people know that they weren't alone in their local areas, and to discuss these things so that if they felt that Christmas was a struggle for them, they would know they weren't alone in it, but they would also stop blaming themselves like I did for the things that they struggled with. And I must say, I have actually managed to get that up on the Emporium. So if anybody missed the Christmas tour of a couple of years ago, you can buy that on it's the London show, which was always one of my favourite shows. And there's cameos from James Brown, Abigail Ajay, Adulting ADHD, Rachel Dowu, and Hannah Huxford, and all sorts of people. And our Kim, you have a cameo in that one, I think, and Nicole Nadler, of course. So it's an all-star cast of absolute ridiculousness with us talking about Christmas. So you can go and buy that, and £5 from every copy will be donated directly to the charity to help fund our in-person peer support groups. Woohoo! So I'm literally using the framework of that show to conduct this ridiculous episode. So there are different categories that it's broken into. So it's not a game of bingo here today, but we are going to reflect on those. And I would love all of you to kind of give me your take on each of those categories and how it impacts you. And any hints, tips, takeaways, just as we do in the peer support We're giving people wherever you are in the world to have a flavour of what it's like. It's actually much more structured than this because I'm absolutely knackered today. But this is what it feels like, so you can get a feel for it. And if you can't attend one, at least you can have some of the information from it. And if you can attend one, we would love you to come along. So we have got peer support groups all over the place, and you can find out where your local one is by heading to the show notes, where you will find a link to the charity website with all of the information about all of the groups. And if you cannot find one in your local area, it is only because nobody has applied to set one up yet. So you can apply to volunteer to start your own, and we would love to hear from you, and you can volunteer your time in any way. Without further ado, I would like to tell you why I've got this tied around my neck for those that are watching. I have been bitten right in the centre of my neck by a mosquito, and it's absolutely huge and it looks disgusting. Got X's are here and here. I've also got on a very festive top, which I found in a box when I was decorating, but I realised that actually has a massive split down the side of it. So that's why it's in a box and not in my wardrobe. So here we are.
That's like a crotchless armpit. I did come festive, which is ironic because one of my things, which I'm sure we will cover, is that I often feel like the Grinch. I do feel appropriate in black. Like you said, come, like, do you know what I mean? It's the kind of walking contradiction thing.
If anybody is a complete Grinch, I've got just the episode for you as well, because a couple of years ago, I actually spoke to Mrs. ADHD about it, and that episode is called Fuck Christmas with Mrs. ADHD, and that one's for you. But actually, I would love to know, how do you feel about Christmas? I know, Kate, you're a Grinch.
Well, I'm actually not. There are bits of Christmas that I do enjoy. For me personally, I'm a lot more emotionally dysregulated. So in my head, I guess that's why you would then, in a simplified way, think, oh, I'm just being miserable, or everyone's happy and I feel sad. There are bits that I like. But yeah, I think now we know, which obviously we'll cover in this episode, a bit more about why we are the way we are. It's just that it's layered.
Absolutely, 100%. Kim, what about you?
Well, I don't know what the half Mrs. Christmas and half Mrs. Grinch is called. So I sit right in the middle. I love the Christmas parties. I love all the social stuff. I cannot stand Christmas earrings. I don't own a Christmas jumper. I'm 54. I've had 4 Christmas trees since I left home because I don't like Christmas trees, but I do like Christmas decorations. We have no children and we very often don't entertain. So there is that other side of it. I hate Christmas Day. I'm invariably crying at some sort of dinner table because somebody in the family, whether it's my family or my in-laws, has done something that has ruined that idealistic thing I have in my head. The last 3 Christmases we've had at home, just the 2 of us, we haven't been well for the last 3 years. So we've avoided seeing people, and they have been the best 3 Christmases.
Well, that is something. What about you, Ruth? You're the only one out of the 3 of us that has little ones.
The Christmas is stressful, but I do kind of like it. I've got better over the last couple of years. Funnily enough, that's in line with me realising I've got ADHD. I worry less about doing the things that you're meant to be doing and just doing what actually works with our family.
Yeah. Right. So we're going to start off with the big one. And I think really, in the last group session, although we did kind of angle it towards Christmas, we focused more on that ADHD tax as in the financial tax. And ADHD tax can mean all sorts of things, emotional tax within relationships, all sorts of stuff. And I think time and time again, the thing that I've heard the most that people struggle with at Christmas is actually overcommitting. And in part, that will be due to our impulsivity. As we all know, I'm literally the worst person at managing a calendar. So obviously that can lead to double booking, whatever else, all the rest of it, and just overwhelm. And actually getting so caught up in the joy of Christmas or the expectations of others, etc., that we're saying yes to things without realising we're going to be a bit tired or a bit skinned, etc. So overcommitting. People with ADHD are often more impulsive than neurotypicals, and that is due to dopamine-seeking behaviours and a lack of premeditation or thoughtful planning. The simple definition of impulsivity is speaking, behaving, or making choices without taking the time to consider the consequences of our actions. Now, working memory is a part of our short-term memory that allows us to retain recent information for ongoing tasks. Impaired working memory can have a negative effect on organisational skills, making it difficult to plan and follow through on actions towards a specific goal. The cognitive effects of ADHD can cause us to have trouble scheduling calendars, as I said. We've talked a lot, and I will continue to talk a lot about RSD on this podcast because it is literally my nemesis. So rejection sensitive dysphoria, or as we prefer to call them, really shit daydreams. But that can play a big hand in why we overcommit as well. So experiencing this intense or overwhelming emotional sensitivity to criticism or rejection, and as ever, that's either actual or perceived. So it doesn't have to, it might not have happened, it might never happen, but we're already not just fearing rejection, but almost feeling like it has already happened. It's so inevitable that this is what is actually already happening now. As I've said before, it's similar to paranoia, with some of us experiencing it as a physical pain. So overcommitting, discuss.
I would like to wear the crown of that, but I suspect there's quite a lot of contenders.
I think you probably deserve it. No, I think you do deserve it, actually.
If I can be there, I will. If I can say yes, I will. But over the recent years, I've realised that sometimes I need to say I can't or I shouldn't. However, I'm actually busy every weekend up until Christmas now. I do get very excited. I say that's why I'm stuck halfway between Grinch and Santa, because I will want to be at everything. And then invariably, that's why I'm not well Christmas Day.
And when you're in the depths of it, like really in the thick of it, and you've got back to back whatever, obviously that kind of burnout illness is coming for you at the end. But whilst you're in the midst of it, do you feel it, or can you, or just so caught up in it and running that you don't see it coming?
Just running on adrenaline. And what happened last year was I ended up with shingles, and that was really interesting because that, although I'm not suffering with shingles anymore, and this year's we've been a few stressy weeks, and even these last couple of weeks, so I had shingles on my right side, and even in these last couple of weeks, that area has been inflamed again. So it's for me now has become a bit of an indicator of where I am burning out or stressing out, because whilst I don't have shingles, this particular nervy area on my right side is really tender right now, because I've just gone through 2 weeks of really high stressy times, and I think that's been a really unfortunate but good indicator of how I'm. It's almost been like a bit like a thermometer this year that I've been able to know where I am, because these shingles, I keep meaning to check up, but I keep forgetting to see whether or not it can just lie dormant there and whether it just comes up and down. So I run on adrenaline. I literally run right to the last minute as much as I can, as long as I can.
So now that you have got a tender right-hand side, are you going to do less this Christmas, or are you just going to ride it all the way into the ground? Or are you doing it on purpose so that you get to have another Christmas alone?
Well, I do this thing called yoga, and I teach people how to relax. So I'm just going to take some of my own medicine.
You're going to practice what you preach. Wow.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
What about you, Kate?
Do you know what? I used to be a huge overcommitter, but some of that also was because I didn't love being in my own company, and as in a confidence thing as well. And I used to end up burning out because I used to work at Christmas in retail, which was always really hectic. Your days off were minimal. I wanted to almost make the most of them, so I didn't feel like it was just eat, sleep, work, repeat. Yeah, I would be exhausted. In the last few years, my world and my life has slightly slowed down, to be honest, with all the revelations of the ADHD and, kind of the stuff that we've learned. I think I'm finally at 40 getting better at knowing what I need and, dare I say, want. I also have realised that actually I need to kind of try and get back this thing called balance, because actually I am a better, happier version of myself when I do things. Therefore, the people around me get a better version of me. For example, last year, when there was a couple of things that I had agreed to, I almost knew as I was agreeing to them, I had that little voice being like, I think this is, excuse the pun, too much. But I went with it because of the ingrained people pleasing. But for my whole life, the overcommitting came less from me from a dopamine impulsivity thing and more just to shapeshift and stay safe and keep everyone happy around me. And so I think when that little voice was saying, are you sure? When I did end up exhausted and burnt out and stuff like that, emotionally, I was more annoyed with myself because I had actually ignored that voice. Whereas previously I didn't know that was there. This year, I feel a lot more confident on knowing what I can and can't do and actually being able to communicate that. Like, for example, a really good friend of mine, we have been saying for ages about doing a curry night. I definitely last year would have done that Thursday night, even though I'd have been exhausted, not really had the capacity. Whereas this time I looked and I was like, could we please do this in the new year? Because I will be on to such better form. My friend was literally like, yeah, of course. When we are so ingrained with RSD, we can preempt that something is going to happen. And actually it's not.
That's really amazing. That's so amazing. One thing that you said that was really, really interesting, and I'm so glad I remembered it, I crossed my fingers and everything, was about people pleasing. You said a perfect thing to convey to any listeners that are stuck in that people pleasing trap of like, oh, well, I have to do this or they're going to think I'm a shit friend, or I've already said I would, so I can't come out of it now, and all of that stuff. You also said, I realise that I need to be well to be the best version of myself for everybody else in my life. If we can take that people pleasing and worrying that we're going to upset people or let people down and all the rest of it, if we can flip that around and say, well, actually, and I'm going to just preface this with something else, I quite often really struggle to put myself first. And so sometimes the hack that I have, because I still haven't overcome it, that will be my life's work and it will be daily work and that's sometimes hourly work. But if I really, really can't, then I reframe it as, actually, I'm doing this thing for somebody else, even if it is for me. And that's the lens through which I look at it, is that actually, if I'm going to be this people pleaser, realizing that I have to actually be well enough to go. And if I'm exhausted, my emotional dysregulation is so bad, my RSD is so bad, that could even cause conflict. That's going to cause upset. That's going to cause me to be crying. So actually, the best thing you can do for anybody else is to look after yourself. Ruth, what about you, my lovely? Talk to me. Overcommitting. I see this, I'm always like, Ruth, should we do this? Ruth, should we do that? And you're like, yeah. It's like, oh, I'll wait to hear this answer. Go on, Ruth.
So ironic coming from you. Obviously, I've had kids for quite a while now, so I've not had the freedom to necessarily go out every night for a really, really long time.
Can I just interject? We do not go out every night. It is not 2007 and I'm not in Ibiza. Carry on.
No, I know, we don't. We absolutely don't. I think for me, overcommitting is less about that sort of thing. It's more about kind of saying yes to people's troubles, maybe sometimes when there's lots going on anyway, and you're like, yes, of course I can come and help you do that, because you're like, oh, they're going through such a bad time, I have to go and help them.
Yeah, they need me. And especially because and it's Christmas and they're having a hard time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really interesting because it's kind of the same vein as what Kim was saying about if she can, like, can you logically get from A to B today and get to this thing? And if you can, then you will. And I'm hearing the same thing with you, Ruth, because you're like, if you can help, then you should. Right? I mean, it is a cliche, but whatever we're saying yes to means we're saying no to something else. And we also know that if that no is to ourselves, then that will impact the people in our lives again, as we just discussed.
Yes.
Another thing that's a bit tricky is actually learning that balance, because you've gone from people pleaser who, someone says jump, you say how high.
Already jumping.
Like on a pogo stick. Then you start realising kind of where some of these behaviours are coming from, which then obviously gives you that kind of understanding and the awareness. So you still want to be there to support people when they need you, have to kind of, but yeah, kind of learn that balance of how much you can give. And also that amount changes depending on where you're at in your own headspace. So I guess sometimes you can be more giving than other times.
Capacity versus capability, always, time and again. Whether we're talking about Kim having the capability to get from A to B, but does she have the capacity? And Ruth with how much emotional capacity can you give to somebody in need at Christmas? We have to acknowledge that ADHD presents differently in all people. On top of that, we have our lovely side dishes served alongside the main course. And the most commonly co-occurring condition is, of course, autism, ASD. And a lot of people who are ADHD, and I cannot speak for them, so please don't think that I'm, explaining anybody's condition to them. I wouldn't dream of doing such a thing. But what I've been told many times is that people who do have ADHD need time to recharge. If that is your experience, that you can go in social situations but then you need to retreat and recharge your social battery, that is completely valid. It's an ADHD experience as well. Like, we're all different.
So for me, I think when I've been in a cycle of that, whether it's socializing, committing, being with friends, I think there is that people pleasing, but I genuinely think that connection, that's what I thrive on, that whole connection of being with other people. And then if I get into a cycle of being with people consistently, or a day on, day off, couple of days here, couple of days there, what actually is really hard is to get off it, because I find it very difficult to go back into what I then see as mundanity, where we're in that mundane life. And it's very difficult to come back into normal life, having had all these great vibes, these conversations, all this great connection, and then come back into home, which is great to be there. But sometimes I find the downer coming back as hard to manage, because coming back into a home, which is your home, you're there to burp and fart in your own space and time. But there is this sort of down feeling of like, it's over.
I do think also now would be a really good time to mention that our charity is quite unique in that, well, it's run by us, but our charity is quite unique in the sense that we're really focusing on creating those in-person spaces, that face-to-face connection in local communities. But if you are a person who doesn't really like connecting with others in person, that's totally valid as well. There are so many online spaces. For example, ADHD Adult UK has a magnificent and massive Discord server. You can go in there for free and you can get information and support and validation and all of that stuff online if that is what suits you better. Similarly, ADHD UK have a lot of online webinars, seminars, etc. So there are a lot of online space, and that's just two charities, never mind all of the wonderful support groups that there are on Facebook, Reddit, all of this stuff. So if you are more of a person that would like to connect online, that's totally valid, and there's loads and loads of space for that. But we're all about the in-person. Now, we are going to move on to present pressure. Gifting loved ones sounds like a lovely thing to do, but it can cause a lot of anxiety, stress and shame for ADHDers. Now, impulsive spending can lead us to buying things we can't afford. Many ADHDers are in debt due to struggles with finance management, controlling impulses, and a lot of us are unemployed or underemployed or not being paid what we should be. Not being able to afford gifts or getting into debt for them is a struggle faced by so many of us. People with ADHD have impeded executive function skills, which impairs goal-directed behaviour. Alongside losing track of time, we can forget to shop or post gifts, and sometimes even that we've bought them already. Many of us misplace things. We may lose what we've bought before gifting and or lose a treasured gift we've received, which brings a lot of shame. Many of us have been made aware that we don't react appropriately, in inverted commas, which can make even receiving gifts anxiety inducing if we have to open them in front of the gift giver. Your thoughts?
I tend to overcommit. I decided to buy a wooden advent calendar for each of my children, which obviously then required me to buy 24 presents that were small enough to fit into the drawer of the advent calendars, which not many presents, not many things are that small. So yes, and obviously this year, I haven't even thought about it. First year I did it, I even bought chocolate moulds and melted the chocolate. So each one had an individual, this is for 2 children, so that's 48. 48.
But talk about making your life harder for yourself. Could literally be there with like a little tub of celebration. Bang, 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 bang. No, I'm going to remelt them into moulds.
Get down B&M. Get 2 advent calendars. Jobs are good in.
No, I wanted to make them. But this is coming from because my dad was a vicar. So we were never allowed chocolate advent calendars, or at least not for years and years. So now I'm like, right.
I'm with you because, we're a bit nerdy and we're a bit creative, as in you and I, not all ADHDers, but like the thought of it is really exciting. Like, oh, I'm going to make this thing.
Yeah, that's one thing. The other thing I do quite often is buy things and then hide them and then forget about them. And that's probably my biggest one.
You ever bought somebody something that you'd already bought them a previous year? I've done that before.
I get gift embarrassment because I've got certain members in my family that will just overspend. And then I've had a conversation with the same family member and said, right, this year we're going to cut it back. It's just going to be this, or it's going to be an experience that we're going to do together, or something like that. And then I hear, well, you know what so-and-so bought us, don't you? And it's 3 first-class tickets to the moon and back again. I'm like, oh, here's your ticket to the cinema. And it just feels like a floppy piece of lettuce. And they're really happy, but I'm just like, oh, again, I've been outwitted.
I struggle with presents with perfectionism, having to try and get as perfect as possible. And I found that the best thing for me to do is to eradicate as many people, not eradicate the people, but who I actually buy gifts for. That kind of frees up the time and energy for the kind of the small amount that I do buy presents still for, fine tune down who we actually need to. And again, having those honest conversations and just and being aware of different people's circumstances as well. And I think sometimes it can be the one person's got to be the first person to broach, like, maybe doing things differently, or shall we just, we're going out for dinner anyway, so why let that be our present to each other. And
on top of the perfectionism, and I will come back to perfectionism, is choice paralysis. I really struggle. Like, I will be thinking about something that I want to gift somebody for a really long time, and I'll keep coming back to it, and I won't be able to decide which one or which is the best one. And then I've just left it too late. And that happens time and time again.
It gets to a point, if you're not careful, of you're literally just spending money for the sake of it. Because you're buying it for everyone, you can't spend as much as you'd like. We started doing Secret Santa between the siblings, so that you're only buying one, which is quite a nice way of doing it.
Present-wise, I think I'm down to 5 presents a year. So then it becomes presents for me, and I'll have another one for me. Oh, and another one for me.
I will tell the story that I did tell on this tour. As I've said many times in the past, I've always really struggled in the world of work. I've tried to run my own business, but all of my ADHD traits made it very, very difficult. So I'd start and stop. And I did seasonal work. So I've just never really had a wage or, just any kind of regular amount of money that I could rely on. And so one Christmas, and again, time blindness and being overly optimistic or whatever else, got me to about 3 days before Christmas. And I suddenly realised I didn't have any money to buy the person who I was with at the time a present. And so I just got this little box, this little pretty red box. And I wrote this massive letter, which was just like, I'm so sorry, I'm completely broke, but this is an IOU, and I promise you I will get you a present. If I had the money, I'd buy you the moon, but I don't have a pot to piss in. It was funny because they did actually really appreciate it. We've all got different love languages. I'm definitely words of affirmation, hands down, any day. And that's why I really, really love cards as well. Like, I get probably more excited about cards than I do presents. I want to read the words, and it really means a lot, and I keep them. I mean, my God, this house is like pretty much built on cards.
the house of cards. Sorry.
So excited. But I do just want to convey that, as cheesy as it sounds, people will not necessarily remember what you got them for Christmas last year. especially if they've got ADHD. So what I would say is that the most important thing is always how you make people feel. And if you can make people feel appreciated, that doesn't necessarily have to be with a gift. You know, you can send somebody a lovely message. You could write them a poem, make them a graphic. You could, you know, just ring them up and tell them that you love them.
Being actually really real rather than buying into that kind of what we see on the adverts. I really noticed the disparity at Christmas between the people that have a lot and the people that don't have very much. And actually, I saw this on the takeaways in the last session this year. I actually am going to give that money to charity, and I'm learning what feels right for you as well, and explaining that, aligning with your own personal values as well.
Aligning with your values, and just remembering that actually the whole point of giving someone a gift, in theory, is that you're telling them that you love them and you're thinking of them and yeah, celebrating. And actually that can be done so many different ways. But it is a good last minute present, as are digital downloads of ADHD AF live shows, by the way. You can get that in your inbox. It's the season that we're all going to eat, drink and be merry and all of that business. But there are several traits that can make all of that particularly challenging. So one is risky behaviour. So many of us have a low risk perception, and ADHD symptoms are associated with stronger perceptions of the anticipated benefits of engaging in risky behaviour. Attitudes towards the perceived risk also play a role, suggesting that adults with ADHD, as I said, are less risk averse. Researchers suggest that adults with ADHD might rate the benefits of risky behaviour so highly because of common ADHD personality traits, such as delay aversion and sensation seeking. Dopamine is essential for controlling impulses. A deficiency in this neurotransmitter intensifies the urge to indulge in behaviours such as overeating, substance misuse, and other risk-taking behaviours to achieve the same reward others get from less harmful behaviours. The festive period is predominantly food-focused, with Christmas dinner taking centre stage. Many ADHDers fight daily battles with eating issues. Encouragement to feast for those of us that struggle with eating can make this time of year feel far from a celebration. Eating, drinking, and being merry can bring challenges for those with ADHD. Studies have proven that ADHDers are at an increased risk. Why can't I say increased risk? They're at an increased risk of binge drinking and are at higher risk of alcohol use disorder. Alcohol can increase ADHD symptoms such as impulsivity, and many of us have an increased sensitivity to the effects of alcohol.
Yeah, and the dopamine of the Christmas food and party food.
Party food is like the best, most ADHD food in the entire world. Like 20 different small bite-sized things.
I want to be off my tits on M&S Picky Bits.
Yep, and I will overeat as well. And I was renowned in our family, close family, as a child. It's like, God, Kim, where are you putting it? Where are you? Just keep going. Oh, Kim will eat it, Kim will eat it.
Which in part can be due to interoception. Not necessarily, and not saying for you, but for a lot of people with ADHD, we don't realise that we're full. We're not getting those internal cues. Mind and body aren't linking up. So yeah, we don't really feel full, and the food's delicious. It's all sensation. We're seeking more dopamine. And for those of us that struggle the other way, that struggle to eat or struggle with the sensation or texture of certain foods, or feel the need to restrict what they eat, or just struggle with eating altogether for various reasons and potential co-occurring eating disorders, etc., the pressure to eat is really quite an awful thing. Like to have to sit down at Christmas dinner and eat something you don't want to eat, feel like you have to, people are watching you, and or don't want to upset the person, but actually you're allergic to this or that. Especially, I would say, returning down a drink. So many people feel pressured to drink at Christmas time that actually even know themselves or are leaning on that crutch because they have social anxiety, because they are feeling emotionally overwhelmed, exhausted, whatever. Like there's lots of pressure all around with that overindulgence in any form.
Alcohol's quite a big one, I think. I used to use it much more as a social crutch.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we really like to have our support groups not in a pub. it can be helpful sometimes to socialise with people when that's not necessarily rammed down your throat. If it's something that feels exacerbated because of the time of year, maybe kind of being extra mindful when you're making arrangements where you're meeting or what someone else is asking of you. And you just think, actually, I'm just going to end up feeling worse as a result of this because of temptation or something like that. Kind of, again, it's about learning to know what we can cope with or not. I know it's easier said than done sometimes, especially when it comes to families. I would hope that if it's with your friends, that they would support that. And if they don't, then again, it's that reevaluating if some would and then some wouldn't, perhaps who you spend some of your time with.
Exactly that, because at the end of the day, if somebody's going to put pressure on you to do something that you either don't want to do, or eat something you don't want to eat, or not take no for an answer when you say that you're not drinking this Christmas, or you're now not drinking at all, or whatever it is, then actually they're not the people that you should be with. And I'm going to say as well, you know, in terms of putting pressure on you to eat, also judgment about eating. You know, people are like, oh, you're going to have another one of those. Like, it's nobody's business what you do or don't put in your mouth. Full stop. And if you are in a situation where you don't feel like you have that autonomy over your own body, you feel uncomfortable, you feel pressured, that really isn't the right environment. And if, as we say, that's family, and you don't have another option, then it's limiting the amount of time that you spend in environments that are going to cause you that sort of harm, and actually thinking about things that will make you feel better. We've already talked about the fact that rest can look different for all of us. If you're somebody that needs that time to recharge, then let somebody know that you need to go and have a little lie down or whatever. And if you have to tell a white lie, so be it. If your head's hurting, accidentally got a little migraine, whatever the hell it is that you need to do to keep yourself safe, then do that. And if you want to say, what a beautiful day, let's have a walk. Go and stretch your legs, move around. If you have overindulged and it's making you feel anxious just sitting around, because so many of us experience that domestic anxiety of actually being in the house one actual Christmas day, just sitting there for hours and hours and hours in front of the TV, like so many of us grew up with those kinds of Christmases, then actually you're not chained to that sofa. You are very much allowed to go and have a walk. And I know that exercise helps with our ADHD symptoms, on top of if we're feeling horribly full and a bit guilty. But do try and remove that shame, because if you struggle with overeating, overindulgence, drinking, whatever, it isn't your fault. Like, it is symptomatic of the condition, and you don't have to beat yourself up for it. You're not alone in it. I think it's really important to know there is no judgment. Like, it is Christmas, and if you feel like you want to overindulge, then you absolutely should. However, it's really just about making sure that you are doing what you want to do. And if you know that alcohol is going to lead you to have crippling RSD for a week afterwards and crying and really emotionally dysregulated and feeling dreadful, even if you make your peace with that's going to be the case, so that it doesn't come as a surprise to you, just really making sure that you can best support yourself. We are back with part 2 of ADHD Xmas SOS. I haven't decided if it's going to be a separate episode or if it's all going to be put into one. Let's see what happens. Who knows? For anybody, Christmas can be a lot, right? We know it's coming every year, but I really don't know anybody who does actually prepare or save up for it. But that might just be the company I keep. And then all of a sudden, not only have we got all of these adverts on TV telling us to make everything perfect, we've also got really emotional Christmas movies on. This is really funny. Sorry, we're already off with the side quest. So my husband has got a job where he works away some of the time, and he's drawn the short straw and is actually away this Christmas, and I am literally distraught about it. Every time I think about it, I'm so upset, and then I have to remember, like, he's not actually left me. Everything is fine. But anyway, we're sort of celebrating Christmas early, and we've recently moved to London, and I managed to bag the last 2 seats in the house to see Home Alone at the Royal Albert Hall with like an orchestra and everything. And actually, Home Alone is the one that gets me every time. It's the key change in Oh Holy Night. Like, you know me, emotional dysregulation is like my calling card. You have never heard or seen me cry like I cry in that key change of Oh Holy Night. So God help the whole
Let alone with it being live.
I like implode with emotion.
God, yeah.
Anyway, That's not the point. The point is, at Christmas, there's always some lovely, oh, they're not going to make it home for Christmas. Oh, they do. All of it is so, so emotional. This category is called the perfect Christmas, with a focus on perfectionism. On average, a neurodivergent person receives 20,000 more negative comments in childhood than a neurotypical. Studies found a strong correlation between perfectionism and impulsivity. Together, they form a negative feedback loop in which the ADHD sets impossible standards, fails to meet them, and then makes rash decisions out of frustration. These decisions can then have negative consequences that further reinforce the idea that they're worthless. Just try harder mentality sees them plan meticulously with the belief that they can try their symptoms away. Christmas is big business. We are constantly sold the idea that we can create the perfect Christmas dinner or buy the perfect gift. On top of consumerism, we are also bombarded with movies depicting perfect families enjoying Christmas together and Christmas romances kiss on the stroke of midnight. Time blindness, motivation issues, executive dysfunction, and limited resources due to ADHD tax can foil our plans to be the next Nigella. For many of us, the wrecking ball of ADHD swung in and damaged or swept away some of our personal relationships, making it hard not to hear the echo of those 20,000 negative comments. Often, we need very little evidence to feel like failures, so ramp up the perfectionism with Jingle Bells on. Discuss.
The perfectionism might present in me at Christmas as more in the fact that of not feeling festive enough, that I'm not Christmassy enough. I'm not kind of nailing that enough.
Do you think that that is informed by people pleasing, as in you are taking the shine off other people's Christmases? Or is it just internally you're expecting yourself to feel more festive than you do because that's what's expected?
I think it's a real struggle with the emotional dysregulation. I definitely feel sadder at a time that it feels like everyone is twinkly Christmas jumpers, and my empathy gauge ramps up to an unhelpful amount. And it's like those ADHD traits that we battle so much with, and all the scars of the battling with it. So the, internalized shame and guilt and stuff like that. I feel that maybe I then have to use more energy to, I guess it's almost to have to mask again. I feel that at a time when, there is more focus on celebrations, I just feel that I go the opposite.
I have to say, I completely relate to everything that you're saying. It's like the whole of Christmas feels like a lump in my throat. A lot of things set me off. Then I think I just give up and lean in. Like, my favourite Christmas movie is definitely It's a Wonderful Life. And I just sit there like, every time a bell rings, like, just literally heads up like that, like, fuck it. I'm that emotional, I might as well just bawl my eyes out, is how it sort of feels. Thank you for that.
It's like another thing where you can feel like you're failing. And also around Christmas time, often it's very cold.
Add something that I'm really noticing for myself is that my emotional dysregulation and my RSD are very much heightened when I'm tired. And actually, I don't really get tired. My brain doesn't really switch off. Like, I literally lie there thinking about things, and then sometime I just passed out for a bit. No more than 5 hours at any given point. So I don't really know that I'm tired. I don't really know that I've ever not been tired. But what I suddenly noticed is that I am a bit more emotional. So when we do have all of these extra messages, things to think about, things to plan, and these bulging calendars, like that is, and like you say, and performative festiveness is going to make you more tired. And that is also going to make you more emotional, as well as all of the triggers of nostalgia, family, etc., etc.
But also I find that I've got a greater heightened anxiety. Although I will say yes to almost every social function that's going, the anticipation of going into any of those functions will be that process of stepping over that threshold into that environment will be causing me angst for quite a few hours before. I always have a lot of anxiety around clothing at this time of the year. It drives me mad. It is one of my things. What do I wear? What do I wear? And I also think, bah humbug, I don't have a Christmas tree. Bah humbug, I don't wear I don't do this. But actually, on reflection, it's probably although the tree thing is true, I don't like the tree in the house, but I guess layered on top of that is the fact that I can't make that perfect Christmas tree because I don't have all those perfect decorations that I feel it should be gold this year, it should be red this year. Perfectionism drives so much of it, and then perfectionism on top of when you walk into those social situations, whether it be with people you've known for a long time, or we have a thing in our village, if you get invited to so-and-so's Christmas do, you're in the village, and you all go there and you'll make polite middle-aged conversation. You all talk absolute bollocks. We don't talk for the rest of the year, but you've made it if you've been invited to so-and-so's Christmas do.
Is it social anxiety, or is it, because this is what came to my mind, is it the perfectionism that there is so much pressure on this being a good party that you as a people pleaser are like, I have to be on top form. Like, I have to make everyone laugh, be the life and soul.
But I'm literally like some sort of sonar radar. I'm checking out the room all the time. I'm listening to other conversations. Who's talking the better? Who do I want to be with? Who sounds better? Am I listening to the most boring person in the room? How do I get away from them? Where is it? Where do I need to be? Who is the person I need to be stood with? So there's a lot of energy all the time when you're scanning those rooms. Even if it's a room full of ADHDers, I'm constantly scanning, taking in, noticing, recognising, seeing.
That I'm being rude if I'm giving one person so much time that I haven't spoken to somebody else. I'm constantly like looking around like, hi, dinner is like, like, yeah, it is a lot of that.
Yeah.
Ruth, how do you feel about this perfectionism business and Christmas?
I feel it more with visitors. I've kind of got over the fact that my house is never going to be perfectly tidy, and therefore it's never gonna, there's no space to put all the beautiful decorations that I would love to have up. There's just nowhere. It's more visitors coming, and I try and get all the stupid little things on the table, the little glass decorations, and all of that kind of stuff.
Are you one of those people that does like Santa's footprints and all that business?
God, no.
Elf on his elf.
Did you not know the elves that come and visit, they also have ADHD? When they come to ours, they forget to move sometimes.
Exhausted.
Because obviously Santa lands on the roof terrace here. Because we have no...
He's got special access in Haggerston.
The present thing is less about perfectionism, more about impulsivity. A lot of it is adverts and social media, without a doubt. It's easy to look at all these presents, be like, oh yeah, I'll buy this one, I'll buy that one. And it's not long before you realise, like, out of the 8 that you've bought, one of them is going to actually get used more than once.
It's quite a funny one, and I am worried that I'm going to get emotional in this episode, but I'm going to try really hard to just speak plainly. I really like hosting, and I really like doing the perfect Christmas. I do fancy myself as a little bit of a Nigella, and I've got receipts. People have told me I do make the best roast potatoes in the world. Genuinely, I make a mean roast potato, and I will blow my own trumpet just like Sonia. But I don't have any reason to host. I am not raising a family of my own. This year in particular, as I said, Big is away. And all I want to do is deck the halls and cook the food and host. That is genuinely, and it's sad. I was saying it to a family member the other day. I was just like, the irony is, all I've ever wanted to do is host Christmas. And I literally don't really have any reason to. And I just have to dance the beat of everyone else's drum. And it makes me a bit sad, especially when I'm eating a soft roast potato.
Could not agree with you more. I'd love to host. I make the world's worst roast potato.
Well, I'll give you a lesson, Kim, anytime.
Hosting.
Perfect roast potato. I've now added pressure to the listeners.
I don't enjoy hosting because of the perfectionism. I would have so much pressure on getting it perfect that I find it easier to not. But then also as well, I think it's about reframing what that perfect is, because when I relax up and I've got my family over on Christmas Day, we have a really lovely time.
It does depend on who it is.
On that note, it is the perfect segue, actually, Ruth. Conflict. We are sold the concept that Christmas is about spending time with family, but many ADHDers have dysfunctional families, believe it or not. And some are estranged from members with whom relationships have turned toxic. ADHD tends to run in families at a very high percentage rate, and in most cases it's thought that the genes you inherit from your parents are a significant factor in developing the condition. Research shows that parents and siblings of someone with ADHD are very likely to have it themselves. A reluctance for parents or siblings to acknowledge their own potential neurodivergence can cause resentment and rifts. No two people with ADHD present in exactly the same way. Though many of us find comfort in our shared experience and unique viewpoints, how our symptoms present can sometimes clash. Mixing great Uncle Archibald's quick temper with Cousin Gertrude's perfectionism whilst Auntie Sue has been impulsively knocking back the prosexy since breakfast, the family dinner can descend into a scene straight out of the EastEnders Christmas special. Emotional dysregulation is a decreased ability to control emotional responses, often resulting in emotional reactions that are disproportionate, allegedly, to the situation. Those that struggle with emotional regulation may be seen to overreact in certain scenarios. Some are quick to anger, whilst others may be quick to cry. Emotional dysregulation and impulsivity are a match made in hell, causing us to blurt out words in the heat of the moment that hurt those we care about, leaving us wishing we could turn back time. We're not going to sing Cher like we did in the show, but who relates?
Oh my God, yes. It was a lot worse when I had unknown ADHD.
Yes.
I definitely used to flip out at my in-laws. I think the combination of emotional dysregulation and alcohol.
The perfect Christmas doesn't exist. If I'm with my in-laws, I hate the way they do something. If I'm with my family, I hate the way they do something.
You said before, invariably somebody will ruin Christmas. Somebody's ruined
Somebody
it.
will do something,
Yeah.
because they don't know what my expectations are. And that's
And
what
actually-
I have learned.
I actually agree, and I am a bit of a kid. You would think that year on year, you'd be like, okay, well, let's lower our expectations a little bit. Let's manage the expectations that's going to happen. It happens every year, but every year I'm like, no, this one's going to be great, and then you are crushed again. People pleasing, or should we call it peacekeeping, as Megan Burks would say. I do feel responsible for everybody. It's not just my perfect Christmas, it's everyone's perfect Christmas, and I will do everything I can to make sure that it is. And when other people aren't playing ball with that or are being just self-driven and just doing what they want to do, I'm like, but what about this person? We need to make sure that they're having the best day as well. And it just spirals into a lot of responsibility and a lot of disappointment.
And you have no chance to actually take a minute to enjoy it yourself because you're just worrying about everyone else.
RSDing your tits off because you're like, nobody cares if I've had a nice Christmas.
I was going to say as well, I'd also feel resentment as well because it's
Yeah.
so all of those
I
things.
hate
and-
them all.
Yeah. And so I think I feel a bit envious that people are able to just
Kick
chill and
back.
think about themselves.
I get RSD if I don't see the response from somebody that I expect them from the gift that I've given. And
Yeah.
I've also cried because my husband, he tries to be funny and we do match each other on funny, but sometimes Christmas Day when you open it and he's laughing and it's a spanner in a beautiful box from a beautiful lingerie department, and it's a spanner and he's like, you need this for your spare wheel. I'm like, I need the lingerie and I need the perfume, but you've given me a spanner.
Last year, my in-laws, they weren't aware of my ADHD. This year, they now know. And so I'm quite excited to see actually what this Christmas brings when people don't know. If you are kind of keeping that covered or hidden, I think that adds it's like another bit of the editing, isn't it? Because you're kind of, you're playing something down and when also we say,
Masking.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And I'm optimistic in that sense.
That's lovely. It's really important to know. Sometimes it is essential to mask. It's exhausting, but it is essential. And if you are in a place over Christmas, whether that's in work parties, if that's in your home, if that's with your family, like, there's no shame in that. You need to do what you need to do to get through it, but be really kind to yourself because it is exhausting and it is infuriating, disappointing, distressing, and all the rest of it. Try not to feel bad for feeling bad. It's bad enough to feel bad. Don't hate yourself twice, hey, which is often easier said than done. But just know that even in those moments where You do feel incredibly isolated. You really are not alone.
Sometimes you can preserve more energy by masking when you can, if you mask with certain people and you do your surface chat that doesn't bring you as much nourishment, as long as you've got the right people that you can fully
Yeah.
unmask with.
That's why we've had a Christmas Day Zoom the last, 3 years?
Yeah, so in the community, the Patreon peer support community, we always do Christmas Day Zoom so that people can top up their cup of being there fully unmasked, too muchness, whatever they are, emotionalness, however they're feeling on the day. And for anyone who is actually alone on the day, either out of choice or not, that we can have that connection and have a little chin wag and all know that the leopard print army, we are all in it together, even if just for that little while on the day.
Also, just to quickly say as well, with the Patreon community, I believe you can use access to work because
Yes.
it's considered peer support. So just to mention, if you're struggling, get your access to work sorted and it'll pay for it and you will
Yes.
not regret it.
I think also communities that you belong to, whether it's Discord or other groups, even it's just coming in and putting a text in saying they're driving me mad, is just a really good way to vent or just
Yeah.
release it for you to continue the day. If you can't, you want to be on Zoom with other people that get you, but just sometimes nipping off to the loo and just putting a random message in, other people just get that as well. And I think being able to do that and know that you're not being dragged away from this thing that you've got to be at, but you've still got people going, yeah, we get it, we get it.
Have you seen the film Human Traffic? Obviously, any of the ravers listening will have seen Human Traffic. Danny Dyer's character has been out raving and he sat down at Sunday lunch dinner table with his family and he's just not in a good way and he just completely blips out and he's just like, who the fuck? Oh yeah, like just shouting at them, like just like literally everything that like you're internally screaming is just pouring out of his mouth at his parents. And I just and I just always think that at some point that is what I'm going to do. Well, this Christmas anyway, which actually brings me to the next category, is going to be really, really tough. It's the first Christmas without my mum. This time last year was when she got sick. I'm not actually allowed to say too much, but as I said before, believe me, I will. That whole period of time, the whole Christmas period was just a nightmare. And so I'm very traumatized by the experiences of this time last year, let alone the crescendo, the grand finale of what actually happened. So yeah, it's always going to be a difficult Christmas. Everything's been difficult this year, even if it doesn't look like it. I've kind of realized that because I am feeling things so much, I have kept myself, I've decided to decline every very kind Christmas offer that I've had. So I've been offered to stay in Australia, America, Scotland. I've literally got people all around me. My in-laws are in France. I've got invitations coming out of my backside, but I've decided not to. And in part, that's because I still, all these years into my late discovery safari, feel like a bit of a burden. It's a tiny little whisper, which I manage by being very helpful and very enthusiastic and making the drinks and taking the bins out and I'm absolutely fine. And I'll do that and I'll tap dance out of every room, but it still creeps in. No matter how much I do, I start to feel like I'm taking up space in somebody's house and I can't bear it anymore. I just literally leave someone's house like, I'm sorry. And I sort of run away in an RS2 paddle. But now with this grief, I realize that I'm going to be double performative because I don't want to ruin anybody's Christmas by being upset. Inevitably, at some point, I will be upset. So yeah, I decided to stay home by myself. I made this massive decision that I was going to go to St. Paul's Cathedral in the morning just because I could. Happens to beg.
Happens to beg.
And go and volunteer for a couple of hours so I could be useful. And I sat down and I was like, I've made this decision and it's the best decision. It's really grown up. Everyone's parents die if you live that long. I am a grown up now and this is the right thing to do. How brave and bold of me. I suddenly realised the other side of the coin, which might be that I'm just isolating myself in grief. And a friend of mine actually cried on the phone and she said, why won't you let people take care of you? And it made me feel really bad. Sorry, violence. I've got to a point where I've realised that I can have the best of both. So a friend of a friend has asked me to mind her cats in Ibiza. So what that means is I get not just some sunshine and some beach walks and actually won't be sat alone because I have 2 animals to care for, but also I've got loads of things I've been invited to, and it also means that I have my own space to retreat to, so I don't have to feel like a massive pain in the ass. All I have to do is not lose a cat. So yeah, my next point is grief. One of the core triggers for myself and many at this time of year, God, I didn't even know what I had coming to me when I wrote that in 2023, is nostalgia. Reflecting on previous years leads to remembering ghosts of Christmas times gone by. This can rub salt in the wound, causing grief to those who are no longer in our lives. Alongside this, receiving a diagnosis like ADHD later in life has been likened to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's grief cycle. Obviously, in this space, we see it more as a roller coaster, experiencing different stages of grief at different times in no linear order or cycle, twisting and turning and sometimes changing on the hour. If you are feeling griefy, please know that you are not alone.
I don't have either of my parents anymore.
All right.
I'm
Trump.
Don't show off.
My dad's been gone, oh God, I don't bloody know, like 12 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe. And mum was a couple of years. Dad was a vicar. So obviously Christmas has quite a lot of to do with vicars. So I think there's probably some stuff that I don't do even though I want to do. So like going to midnight mass or
You don't go
Christmas Day. No.
because
And
you
I-
find it too upsetting.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
keep saying, oh, I'm definitely going to do it. And then I just don't. So maybe this year will be the one. Maybe it won't.
Play it by ear.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really remember what Christmas was really like as a kid, other than looking under the Christmas tree and reading all the labels on the presents. And that's what I do make sure what I always in my head say is I'm going to make sure that I've got all the Christmas presents under the tree for like a few days before Christmas so that my kids can do the same thing. Do I ever do that? Christmas Eve, 2:00 in the morning. Right. That's my griefy randomness.
There are a lot of good charities out there doing great things for people who are grieving. So there'll be all sorts of resources in the show notes. And like Ruth said, you can honour somebody, but you don't have to go all the way down the rabbit hole in a way that's going to harm yourself. You know, I absolutely think that's brilliant. So what can we do? In conclusion, we want you to remember that self-diagnosis is valid. In identifying your ADHD traits, you can figure out what your unique struggles are in order to put systems in place to best support yourself. If you hate Christmas, don't do it at all. You don't have to do anything, go anywhere, be with anyone, eat or drink anything that you don't want to. Communicate your struggles. If you don't feel comfortable divulging ADHD, you can give a different reason for not buying presents this year or needing to take time out. Break tradition. If you're feeling overwhelmed or are financially struggling, suggest alternative plans in the new year. You don't have to see everyone in a couple of weeks. Ask for help. If perfectionism and societal pressures has you stuck in task paralysis, body doubling is brain magic. We can all testify to that, right?
Definitely.
It's 3 years of the online peer support community this month. So
Yeah.
Wow,
a
that's
lot.
amazing.
I've
Yeah.
been body doubling for 3 years.
I was just about to say, I have to work out how many hours that equates to.
Well,
Yeah.
it'll be 3 years in January of daily body doubling at 7 a.m.
We did.
And maybe there's been a couple of bank holidays, but aside from that,
Yeah, not many.
Yeah.
not many in 3 years. You don't have to explain why you need that support. You could just invite someone out Christmas shopping or to your house over Zoom to wrap presents, write cards or prepare food. You can make it something fun. She says like Mary Poppins, shut up. Spit spots. Lean into ADHD community. Peer support is invaluable.
Yeah.
I swear to God, not only this charity, but yeah, which led to this charity, I would not still be standing if it wasn't for you all. Genuinely.
No,
Like,
not
peer
mine.
support is absolutely, I am actually going to cry now.
We were doing so well, Laura.
Oh. In connecting with others who share similar experiences, we feel validated and know that we are not alone.
We are
So
not.
the final point is, it is your Christmas too. This is the big one. Do not set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Give yourself permission to have a Christmas that you actually want and that will make you feel good. Your feelings are valid. You matter. And ADHD is real.
Woo!
Thank you, team.
Well done for keeping it together.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I told you I can suck him through the eyeballs after many years of practice. That is my actual superpower, not ADHD.
Love it.
No,
Honestly, this group has been, like you say, Laura, it's like a friendship that we've never known before. We've come together and we just get it. Amazing.
Chosen family.
yeah, some of the stuff does feel like it's massively shifting because of being just feeling so understood. So yeah,
Just
it's
being able to
definitely
express
different.
it for the first time or recognise it for the first time in a lot of our lives. Just that whole, I don't
Relief.
know,
Relief.
relief. How many podcasts finish with the 4 people all in tears in some way, shape or form?
Nearly last night.
completely.
During the meeting? Why? What did I say?
You were saying, I can't even remember.
It was. I think it was just.
It was you saying like how much work we've put into it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was just like, yes, we have.
yeah.
That was kind of the bare bones of the live shows. They're really special to me, those shows, like really, and especially with
they
the
were
live
amazing. Yeah.
That was a lot of work. And actually,
Yeah.
I think if anything that we can directly look at has so informed the charity, it's
Yeah.
like really knew how much I struggled with Christmas, found out that other people did, brought a load of people together,
Yeah.
realised a load of people didn't have people in their local
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and the importance of bringing people together. So if you do have a peer support group, if we've set one up, please do go. It's a really special thing to connect with others, especially at this really overwhelming, what can
Yeah.
be spring, which can be magical, but can be really disappointing and dysregulating time of year. Do go along. And if we haven't got one near you, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please connect with others, even just in online spaces. And that's not a plug for the Patreon peer support community, although you really should join it, because I think any ADHD creative platform probably hates me for how cheap that is for what you get. But it's just a really special space where you can connect with people. But if you can't afford it, then there are so many spaces. There's Reddit, there's Facebook, there's all sorts of communities that you can join. Please do that, because it is literally what's kept us all upright. And
Yeah.
I just want to say as well, have a look at ADHDF Emporium this Christmas, please. Conceptually, it's my idea and it's the podcast that has got us there. But it is Steph that's worked really, really hard behind the scenes. She's the person that's storing products, that's posting it, and she's making stuff. Look at that amazing leopard print candle. But it would really be very special to any of our makers and to us if you did shop neurodivergent this Christmas. Not only are you supporting neurodivergent makers and small businesses, but 10% of all profits go to our charity. This hat is from ADHDF Emporium. It's literally handmade by Steph. Come on, it's cool as
I
fuck.
love those
It's a
hats.
needle print Santa hat. We've got Christmas cards. We've got all sorts. And yeah, you will literally be paying money towards the very support groups that we're talking about. So it is just a big bubble of festive love. Or you could make a donation to ADHDF Plus charity directly, which would be wonderful. We're doing a lot of good work and we've got so much to come in the new year. And like I say, if you want to watch the digital download, a £5 from each copy goes to the Chazza. Head to the link in show notes and have a look at all of them links. And as I said, there are support links there too. You really are not alone.
I just wanted to wish everyone not the Merry Christmas that they think they should have, but whatever they would really like. I wish you a Merry Christmas.
Do Christmas your way, folks.
Merry Christmas to all.
Holy night. Right, we're going. Love you all. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, everyone.
On the 12th day of Christmas, ADHD gave to me 12 double bookings, 11 shocking, 10